All right, we're going to get started shortly and start talking about my favorite topic. All right, we're going to get started shortly. Self-love. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a slight delay, so please forgive any challenges that I have navigating all of these windows. Let me so if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a slight delay, so please forgive any challenges that I have. All right, here we are at the top of the hour, and the conversation of the hour is what is embodied love? And what is embodied love to me? Embodied love is a result of my labor of love for myself, which was reflection and exploration of what my story was. And, really looking deeper at how I was loving myself. So the way in which I deliver embodied love is as a virtual retreat series. I call it virtual because we're in the virtual environment. Retreat because if you look at the definition of retreat, it is a way of going within, kind of pulling back from outside. And that's really, really important to get to this understanding of self that allows you to reach your goals for self-love. And then a series because really self-love is about practice. And you want to have the ability to learn a concept, really process it, practice it, come back, talk about it, and then be able to continue to do that iteratively. And, as a virtual retreat series with a small group of like-minded women, it is a wonderful, wonderful environment to not only share your story and become empowered by that, but empower other women with your story. And it is such a beautiful, transformative experience for all of the women that have participated, and we'll hear from some of them today. I am so blessed to bring this to women, and I'm so excited about it. What I want to talk about in this session is kind of an introduction, is the way in which it evolved for me and my thinking about it. Love has been an important force for me in terms of the three major components that we're going to talk about today, and then we talk about across the retreat in much more detail. Love has been an important part of becoming aware of myself. Really that commitment to become more emotionally intelligent. We'll talk about how feelings are a wonderful, wonderful guide for you to understand what's going on with you and what story you're telling yourself. And the second is self-acceptance. Really, self-love is at the heart of that. And it's really, really important to get to that point of really embracing your whole self. And that leads to the next component, which is self-compassion. And self-compassion is not only about sort of that empathy and that ability to realize what's maybe triggering some hard thoughts and feelings for you, but also a way in which you can act on that and help to make that change. Now, that was for me how I wanted to explore it. it goes beyond that. The phrase that I like to use is, I am more than enough, and I'm never too much. I'm one of those people that, some people will say, she's too much. There's too much information. She's too whatever. And the biggest thing that I needed to arrive at, and that is a part of the Embody Love virtual retreat series, is this hopefully realization that you come to that you are never too much. You may be too much for somebody, but you are never too much. There's never too much you. How can there be too much you? And that's what self-love is about. How do we get there? We use our feelings as a guide. So emotional intelligence is absolutely critical as a part of the overall process that we go through. And the premise under which we look at how we are feeling is, in this self-love space, is to think about how we love ourselves with the lens of how we love others. So often, and I've seen this in my previous workshops, I have an exercise that has people kind of map what are the important characteristics of a love relationship with someone else to what's an important characteristic in the love relationship with themselves. And when they take some of those descriptions that they have for loving someone else and apply it to themselves, it almost causes them to break down, because they are so struck by how they don't treat themselves as well as they treat other people. And I was a victim of that. And that is something that's very common. And so it's nothing to be ashamed about, but part of it is just a lack of self-awareness, and not explicitly looking at that and looking at how far apart these two poles are, your self-love and your love for others. And so really, Embody Love is about bringing those two poles closer together. And the way in which I frame it is to say, how are you paying attention to and showing concern for your beloved? And in the case of an external relationship, it's your beloved other. And in the case of self-love, it's your beloved self. And how can you take those same characteristics and show that same attention that you pay to those people that you love to yourself? How can you show that same concern that you show to others to yourself? Now, if we go one level deeper, one of the most important things, love is, a lot of people will say, there's different interpretations, but a lot of people will say that love is an emotion. And as an emotion, it actually is an umbrella for all of these other emotions, all these other feelings that we have. And those feelings are really, really important to tell us and to signal to us that we are in love, that we are being loved, and that we're being loving. And that's the really at the heart of the Embody Love virtual retreat series self-love program, is how can you discover more of those good feelings that you sort of associate with love for yourself? How can you find more joy? How can you find more peace? How can you be more empowered by things that you do for yourself? So just like we want that for all of the people that we love, all the others that we love, we should, in a healthy, loving, self-loving relationship, we should want those for ourselves. So Embody Love is about paying attention to and showing concern for the feelings that you are having. And that's a guide to how loving you are being and how loved you are. So let's break that down a little bit. There is this sense in positive psychology to really focus on what is it that makes you feel good? You know how when you have someone that you love, you want them to feel good. It feels good to you when you make them feel good. Self-love, again, bringing those two poles together. Let's map that to ourselves. What is it that makes us feel good? And big caveat here, not what someone says should make us feel good, but when you reflect, when you take a deep, deep introspective look, what is it that makes you feel joyful? What is it that makes you feel serene? And we really explore the vocabulary for that. And what are the feelings that you have that you feel really good, but you don't experience it that often? How can you increase the amount of time that you are spending in that place? Again, just as you would for someone that you love, how can you make sure that you're in that place as much as possible? And how fulfilling is that? And on the other side, on the flip side, what happens when you love someone and they're not feeling great? What do? You rush to them to empathize, and especially we as women, there is a response that has been studied with women in particular called the tend and befriend response. And that's where we, in stressful, in crisis situations, in situations where we are not doing well, we look to both tend to others and befriend others so that we can be tended to. And acknowledging that as a strength, as a free resource, the support circle that we have, that is absolutely critical to figuring out how we can be that for ourselves. How can we, again, revisit those things that make us feel good? And how can we be the support and the resource for ourselves? How can we speak to ourselves the way we would speak to others, again, lovingly, in a way that we will feel better? Now, we may be feeling not so good and we may not go to joy, but how can we take those steps to feeling better? So I really actually, I'm going to stress that again. This is not about, making an unrealistic jump to, or, I don't want to say that if you are in a very, very dark place, this is really about taking those steps to get out of that dark place towards that light of self-love. It's possible. And I want to provide you with the tools and the resources to do that. And the last thing that I want to sort of frame in this overall, how can you love yourself the way you love others, is this concept of your best interests, what serves you. There is this concept that, when we love others, we want what's in their best interest, right? Like, we love them, even if it's something very different from what we want, or we look towards what is it that is in their best interest. And we talk to them about that and we figure that out. How can we do that for ourselves? How can we make sure we know what is in our best interest? Again, blocking out all of that stuff that comes at us from the media, from the people you work with, people you socialize with. How can you see what's in your best interest? And that includes not only things that you're doing, whether it be work or play, but also people that you surround yourself with. Is the people that you surround yourself with reflecting the love that you have for yourself? So that is under the full umbrella of your best interests. And I have a model that we use in the EmBODY Love Virtual Retreat series to really allow you to examine again how you're feeling to determine whether or not something is in your best interest. And then you can use those same feelings to figure out, what can I do to either make it better for myself best interests, or to decide that that's maybe something that you don't need to do, someone that doesn't need to be in your circle. And talk a little bit about the conversations or the steps that need to be taken in order to actually implement that, because that can be difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's a tough one, but it is absolutely critical to showing yourself love, showing yourself acceptance, showing yourself compassion. All of this is not easy, but what makes it easier is your intention to get there, to take the journey, to be on the path. And in the format that we have set up for the Embody Love virtual retreat series, the ability to practice that, to have a support system, our small group of like-minded women to connect with. So we use a buddy system and some other systems to connect the women, and a really, really, really beautiful bond is established with the women in a particular group. And I mentioned the tend and befriend response. That is a direct implementation and leverage of that wonderful, wonderful natural tendency that we all have to lean on each other and to allow ourselves to be leaned on. So I started this conversation talking about how, we have a tendency, we as women, to love others very differently than we love ourselves, maybe even a little more so. Some people don't have that problem, but many of us overextend ourselves with others that we love, that we care for in our circle. And then for ourselves, we tend to neglect. That is not, again, as I mentioned, that's not something that's uncommon. And it's not something to beat yourself up about. Some of this is about not being aware. And so the hope is with the Embody Love virtual retreat series, when you go through this journey, you become extra aware. And it allows you to make different choices if you so choose. But it gives you the frameworks, the tools, the support to be able to make new and different choices for yourself. And that is, it can make a huge, huge difference. I mean, that's the reason why it is for me a labor of love, because it came out of work that I did that made a huge difference for me. And at this time, I'm going to ask a couple of the participants, if they will, to share what Embody Love has meant to them or means to them. It is a community. It's not something that fades away over time, and that's intentional. I mentioned the series, and there are checkpoints. We have little reunions scheduled. So it is an ongoing sort of support mechanism, because this is an ongoing journey. You can't ever say that you're done. There are things that are going to come at you. There are people that are going to come at you. There are situations that you're going to be in where it's going to be tested. Your love for yourself is going to be tested in new ways. And you may need to come back to the well to draw from. You may need to come back to the tools and reevaluate. So with that, I'm going to ask Leah, if you are available to share. I'm going to actually spotlight you.
Hi.
So what does Embody Love mean to you?
For me, it was just, it really was about having a community and being guided through the process of really analyzing like the state of my self-love, and to be doing that like in community with other women, and really take an honest look at how well I was loving myself, or how well I do, how much love do I show for myself. I'm great at loving other people, but not always, giving myself that same level of care, prioritization, even the paying attention to, what other people need, what someone needs. I need to do that for myself too. So Embody Love for me was really about like being guided through a journey of like really diving into that and analyzing that and taking a really honest look and finding those areas of like where I needed improvement, how, getting the tools, how do you do it? How do you even start to think about and like reframe, certain ways that maybe we're like less fair to ourselves than we are with other people. And to sort of like start getting some of those like, unraveling some of those habits that we have, of sort of either ignoring our own needs or our own desires, wishes, dreams, boundaries, and really like putting ourselves back in like a place of priority. It was great. I loved it. I loved the whole experience.
So
I can't wait for our reunion.
If someone were to, especially given that what we're talking about is very common with many women in terms of taking care of others, more so potentially than ourselves, and being sensitive to and paying attention to others' needs. Do you have any sort of specific examples that you think other women could relate to, that sort of change for you within the Embody Love timeframe?
Yeah, I think a couple come to mind, but one that's been like really, I've been feeling really significantly in the last month or so, since finishing the retreat, has been around my relationship with work. I have like a great, like fun, exciting, challenging new job. And, I want to do a great job, but I'm also a mother. I'm a single mom. So, I have to give a lot of energy towards, my home and my child and home life as well. And I find at times that I have been giving more attention to work than I have been giving to like my home life and myself. And so that's like how you get burned out, that's how you get burned out. That's how you get overwhelmed at work. And it's really like, you get there by ignoring the signals that you're getting tired, that you're tired, maybe a little overworked, not saying no enough, or like setting boundaries with like how much like, about your workload, not having good boundaries with your time, especially working from home. Like with the pandemic, a lot of folks are working from home, not everybody, of course, but like they're finding that people work longer hours and at like more odd hours than they do when you go to the office from, 9 to 5. So like having those boundaries for, how much is enough for a day, and if I'm tired, then maybe I do need to like work a little less. And so like, I have found that in recent weeks, I've been able to really just hear myself asking for more rest, like my body, my mental state asking for more rest, and honoring that for myself. And I'm feeling a lot better. Like, I feel like I saw the signs and like headed off, like just that overwhelming where you get really stressed out and burnt out. And I'm finding that I'm better able to like keep myself out of that place right now. And I'm still, still doing a great job at work. It's like, it's okay to rest. You can rest and still do a good job. So that's one. That's a big one for me in the last couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. And
Of course.
we're going to ask another person, and actually in the this space of how I mentioned that things change for you over the course of your life. And Leah mentioned the example of work and how you want to make some decisions and some choices that again honor how you're feeling with regard to work. There are times when maybe that's not a big part of your life anymore. So maybe there's a stage that you're at where it's different. And so Julie, do you want to talk about what Embody Well means to you as someone that has recently, if I may say, is enjoying the retired life?
Yeah.
You look so much happier.
Actually, this came at a perfect point in my life, and I wasn't totally retired when we started our journey, but other things in my life had changed significantly. I had lost my husband in 2019, and my kids have grown and left the house, and so it was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to think about me. Maybe it's time for me to focus a little bit more on me. I certainly don't regret any of my focus on my family for all those years, but I felt like I, 110% was into making sure that they were okay and loving them and being there for them. And I realized that I just kept pushing myself further and further away it didn't even occur to me. One of your original questions that we had to start was like, how do you show love and everything else? And like self-love was not even part of my answer. I don't even think I knew about self-love, to be honest with you. And I also, for many, many years, operated out of guilt for things. And so when we did our little emotion wheel, it like made me realize that, wow, this is not a good place to be. I need to work on not having that as the drive, which for many, many years was. And also just in the beginning of the retreat, the first day when you had said to us, make the room as enjoyable as possible for wherever you're going to be doing the workshop. And like I had to sit and think like, okay, wow, I guess I could put, a candle in. I guess I could put, make a coat. I mean, I never even thought about stuff, little things like that to just make a difference. Now I'm trying to incorporate that into my life in general. So that's very new. And I also find myself when friends tell me, their problems are this or that, and I'll quote things from our from our time together, and I'll talk about self-love and tell them it's really something that maybe they should consider delving into more, because it's healthy, it's helpful, it's and it doesn't come natural, I don't think, especially to women who devote themselves to others as much as we do. And also, Tanya, the environment that you created with, it was safe. It felt like we could talk, and small groups, and getting to know one another and sharing experiences, and that somebody else may have gone through something similar, and how what they got out of it. It was a really, really powerful experience. And I didn't know how much I needed it until I was in it. So I do thank you for that.
Yay. So let me ask you this question. What would be your distinction now between self-love and self-care?
So self-love is the drive. That's the deep down searching. That's the self-love. And I think self-care comes out of recognizing and loving yourself. Then the self-care just happens. I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. I'm not gonna
we
lie.
all are.
I'm not gonna lie, but it's things that weren't even in my thought process before, and now are. And that's significant.
Yay. So again, we are all a work in progress. As I mentioned, there's no final destination as far as this is concerned, especially given that we go through these various phases of life where we move to a new city, we get a new job, we lose loved ones. I have a new godchild, so we gain new people that we have to take care of and love, and or maybe someone gets sick, and so you really want to revisit this, and so again, the idea is that with the Embody Love Virtual Retreat Series and the women that participate in it, this becomes a community, and it continues to be a connected community that will support one another, lend support to one another, and lean on each other. I'm so proud to hear about the impacts that it's made, and I mean it exceeds my expectations whenever I hear about what people are doing new. I had another participant who just told me she just recently started 2 different new activities that she had never even thought about, explored before, just because she found that she really enjoyed them, just as a matter of exploration. And so yeah, I do think that there is a purpose and an intention to this. So when you embark on this journey, you are intentionally looking to be better about it, not be perfect. No one is. It's an ongoing journey, but to be better about it. And I think there's also an openness that you have to want to explore and be open to finding out things about yourself that are new and that are different, or that you didn't pay attention to before. One of the biggest hallmarks of Embody Well overall, Embody Love, as well as the studio, is this concept of sort of continuing to rediscover yourself, right? So there may be new things that you find that you like now and you didn't like before, or that you don't like now that you liked before, and that all of that is okay, because that's you growing, that's you changing, that's you becoming whoever you are supposed to be, and that embracing that and accepting that is what this whole self-love thing is about. I just did a podcast with a friend of mine, and the name of her podcast is How to Take a Break. So lovely podcast. And the thing that I was telling her is to what we're talking about in terms of the self-love versus self-care is knowing how to take a break and knowing when to take a break is all a part of self-love. So, hearing all the different activities is great, but you got to tune in and pay attention to and be concerned about what you're feeling. Use that as your guide to be able to lead you down that path, and then explore some of those options. So thank you for sharing, Lee and Julie. I've got 2 other folks who are on who have participated that can share. Shu, would you be willing to share what Embody Love meant to you or means to you? And make sure you take yourself off mute.
It's me. I'm sorry. Firstly, I wasn't back yet, and I just thought I was there 10:30, and I said I have half an hour. And
your timing is perfect. You were perfectly timed.
Okay, thank you. All right, embody to me is a love myself, and I'm no longer carry the guilt trip I used to have. And I say it's okay. You're human. You can make mistake, and that is not your nature. It's just sometimes it's unintentional, and it's okay because nobody is perfect. You can make mistake, and I feel I can, forgive myself more now than before. So I really enjoy this, and I totally understand why Tanya is so crazy about this. I feel Tanya is so rich, and then that made me feel I am rich too, because myself is worth it. That's to me. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that is wonderful. So, what have you done differently, would you say, since you've done the program that others could potentially relate to?
As I mentioned, I used to carry very heavy guilt trip. Now, I think I kind of read 50. I won't say 100%. I think at least 50%. I say it's okay. You're allowed to do that, but let moving on. Okay, so I feel this way.
All right, and because I know we had one instance where I think your husband had come in or something, and we were so excited because I think you had told him, yeah, you just need to fix me lunch.
Oh yeah. When the beginning, say, okay, I'm at this conference, and you have a lunch ready. So when I finish, because my time was different than you were Eastern time. So when I finish about 1:00, and I said, so then we have a lunch ready. So I feel I can express my need, not just to please him all the time. So I'm not pleaser anymore. I can say no to the thing I don't really need to do. So I feel I'm more assertive. I'm kind of assertive, but wasn't enough to me before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Wonderful.
allowed. Yeah, it's allowed to say no to people you don't want to say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think thank you so much. Your perfect timing, Chu. You came in at exactly the right time.
Oh, I'm so awfully sorry. And I couldn't find the correct password. And I said, oh God, you a mess.
One of our past participants, she used this sentence, which I've heard before, but that no is a complete sentence. So when you're loving yourself and you say no, it's okay. You don't have to rationalize it. You don't have to. No is fine. And that's a part of the overall sort of philosophy and belief within the Embody Love virtual retreat series. So we've got one more person here that is going to share again, and another perspective just to hear from. So Christine, what does Embody Love mean to you, or what has it meant to you?
Hi, Tanya. First, I want to say just thank you for this journey. I think for me, I was probably somewhere in the jungle and didn't realize there was this path. So I just want to thank you for creating this platform so that we could deep dive and find things that I had no idea. At heart, I'm a person that lives life and enjoys life, but then the pandemic came and there was so much stuff I started absorbing. All this negativity, it was just like I was absorbing it, and I was like, oh my God, I felt like my energy was being zapped. And when you said you're going to do this, I'm like, yes, you're going to do this, Christine. And it came at just the right time in my life when I was making some transition and making some serious decisions about life. Mm-hmm. and those decisions all kind of pinpoints back to self-love, because there were things that I was going to decide that someone would look at it as that's very bold, but in a sense I knew it was what I needed to do to be loved not only at work, loved at home, and appreciated just in all aspect of life, and in the sense too, and also give love so people can see your light and follow your light and be a guidance for others as well. So that too is a part of self-love, the fact that you can bring people to that journey as well, and those who are in the dark, as you said, help them to see the light. So that too can be powerful, and that part of that wheel, that can be something that's impactful, powerful, makes you feel warm, you feel, and it all evolves in that self-love perspective of me being who I am, and of course shaving off any guilt that you may have had, because in the long run we're all here on this earth to help each other. As you said, we're a community, we're brotherly, it's all about brotherly love. So in the sense, when you're doing self-love on yourself, you're being a light and a mirror, an example for others to follow. When I'm being in a dark place, that's not a good example for others. So that's how I can look at things and not feel guilty. at all. Period.
I love, first of all, that your lovebirds started chirping as soon as you started talking, which I love.
Yeah, that's one of the new things in my life. Lovebirds.
I was going to say, because I was going to ask you a little different from the question for Julie. How have your self-care activities changed as a result of Embody Love, do you think?
Oh, wow. You know what? There was a time, and I think there's a lot of us are like that. We're thinking self-love is when you're trying to exercise and trying to do the right thing. And I realize it's deeper than that. It's not just the exercise and doing all that. It's a deep, you've got to have it down in here, because that exercise and all that other stuff, it's hard to do. So I was someone who had to be in the gym, had to be in that environment, that class setting. And for me now, it's so deep, it doesn't matter where I am. So I don't know if I'm answering it well for you.
Yes, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yes.
That self-love and where I am now, it's like, I can do that anywhere. Yeah. I can do that.
they're like, yes, it's a yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
I love the lovebirds are all on it. Okay, I'll put them on the payroll.
We can do that anywhere. So yes, it has changed so much, and it's just, it's not a burden. It's not a chore. It's just something loving I'm doing. That's the big thing about it. I don't feel like a burden. I don't feel like I'm on anybody's agenda. I got to look this kind of way. I got to be this kind of person, because I love me. Yeah. However I am, sweaty, whatever, that's me. That's the love there.
I love it. Yay. So thank you all for sharing with folks that are considering doing the Embody Love virtual self-love virtual retreat series. So we have a next cohort that is coming up at the end of October. And so you can go to embodywell.com to get information and to register. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message at Tanya@embodywell.com. And there is also a women's initiative that I have that we do monthly coochie conversations. So you can come in and talk about or around your coochie. And really, I want to just echo all of the comments that were there, is that this is something that is intended for you to really go that one step deeper. So, the line that accompanies Embody Love is to, go beyond self-care and rediscover self-love. We all came out of the womb not caring what people thought and generally happy, except for when we needed to be fed, clothed, etc. And now we do that ourselves. So we're responsible for our happiness. So, and if you think about it that way, especially if you think about that sort of another thing that we explore is that inner girl, and that young child that you really want to continue to care for, because she's still growing, she's still learning, and most of all, she still wants love. And the first person to give it to her, and the main person that we can control, who can give it to her, is ourselves. So it's all about self-love. So I want you to give yourself a big hug. Because so this is another thing, scientifically, hugs are great for the emotions. Obviously, touch is always good. But guess what? Even when we hug ourselves, it makes a difference. And that is a perfect way to sort of reflect what this is about. This is about the fact that we can do for ourselves a lot of times what we're looking for externally, and a lot of times what we're doing for others externally, we can also do for ourselves. So do something for yourself. Contact us, register with us for the Embody Love virtual retreat series. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.